Three, two, one. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics, and it's good to see you. It's another night, Thursday night. Hope everyone's having a, good evening. I don't know what you're doing out there. I'm trying to mess around behind the scenes and get stuff working right, but I don't know what I'm doing. I just bumble through this stuff. And but it's good to see you guys. I know you guys don't like showing up and just listening to music for 10 minutes, but it helps me kind of get things going since I don't have a partner to help me out, and I can let people roll in. They know that things are gonna go, and I'll get things better as I get more practiced at this. I want to give a shout out to Skip and Tosh over at Thinking Critical. He's currently doing a Twitch stream, and before you all just leave to go join his channel on Twitch, hopefully he said he's gonna be wrapping up soon. I made this a little bit later so we didn't overlap. I was actually wanting to run this earlier today, but I didn't want to clash with what he was doing. So hopefully he'll be joining us after he finishes up. He's finishing his last book, and so let's see. There's a lot of chat to address. I don't think I'll get all of it. I'll start down here in the middle somewhere. Let's see. Eric says, the rumor has it that someone's going to read to us tonight. Yeah, that's the rumor. That's definitely a rumor. Nalo says, personally, I like it a lot. I read every issue. The most David Lynch Twin Peaks style book, if you're into that, that I have found. Okay, I guess you must be talking about Gideon Falls, I'm going to assume. Let's see. Going down. I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's hard to jump in. Let's see. Now, Ash, you and Skip need to coordinate on your times. Dude, you are telling me. I don't know what it is. But he and I just, whenever we like, it's just like the third time in a row where I'm like, I'm going to stream. And then it's like, he's exactly thinking the same thing, but we didn't talk. It's just, and I'm like, we should collaborate since we're doing things at the same time. But I have a curse, as Eric will tell you about. I'm blackballed in this community. No one wants to stream with me. So that's the way that it goes. Man, I can't even get the right things to go up on my screen. That's what I'm supposed to have. I got to figure out the Streamlabs. I'm getting a little better. What I really need is a second monitor. That would really make things. I have a second monitor. What I need to do is plug it in and connect it. And it's just, I have a laptop, so I kind of, but that would really help to have Streamlabs open in one window constantly. And there's Eric heckling me in the audience. Thanks, buddy. I always appreciate you contributing to my stream and making me stutter over myself and so forth. Dane says, I can't wait for 2. I've heard the 3 detectives. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Hey, Skip is here, and he's treated me nicer than Eric. Thanks, buddy. It's nice to have at least one person in the audience that doesn't throw tomatoes at me. Let's see. We always want to stream at the same time. It's exactly what I was saying. Marania, good to see you. Marania says later. What's later than this? Let's see. And then there's a name that I can't read, so I apologize. That looks, I'm not even gonna try to guess. It looks like an Arabic or something in the Middle East that I'm probably, I don't know which language that is. Anyways, good to have you. Good to have everyone here. Dane, Eric Breen, even Nalo, Marania. I think I said everyone. Did I see Computer Robots earlier? Hey, Edmundo showed up. Good to see you. So tonight we have 2 comics in store to address anyone who might be new. to these particular streams. The way this breaks down is sort of in 3 parts. The first part is this sort of banter where I just basically stall for time, try to give people a chance to get in here before the comic books read, give me a chance to say hello to everyone, such as Tehillim, who just showed up. Good to see you all. And then we read the opening act comic, which is, there's really no rhyme or reason what I pick for the opening act comic. It's something that's, I think, will be fun to read. Right now, I'm reading some X-Men that I got for free on Comixology. Now, I have these in my collection, but since these are digital copies that Comixology was just giving away free out of the Uncanny X-Men line, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to go through these because this is my cup of tea. This is kind of what defines me as a comic collector and a fan and enthusiast. This is what got me into the hobby. This is, everyone's kind of got their books, I think, that kind of make who they are, and that's fine. That's great that not everyone's the same. I don't expect everyone to be like, oh, X-Men's mine too. But this is me. It helps you get to know who I am and where my perspectives come from and why I look at comics the way that I do. And in particular, 200 through 300 is my quintessential sort of X-Men block. I really do love the 100 through 200 as well, but those were before my time. I had to go in and read those as back issues. And then after 300, it sort of died off because Claremont was gone, and then John Byrne was gone, and then Jim Lee was gone. And then it's like, it just wasn't the same. And eventually it died. I don't want to say a slow death, but it wasn't really a fast death. But once it was gone, it was gone. Marvel has never gotten the magic back for X-Men. Never. And so that's the way that it is. Now it says, I'm going to write and draw a comic about Ash and his foil, Eric Breen. Nice. That would be rad. By the way, if there's any artists out there that just want to sketch up something, I can't pay you. I'm broke. But if you just like to doodle and stuff and you think you can draw Ash Williams, from Evil Dead, and you can draw him doing something with comic books. So it's like very visibly rather reading them, destroying them, sitting on them. That'd be great. Obviously that's kind of for me to steal. But I would love if someone would do that. There's this thing that's been going around Twitter right now where people are like bored in the quarantine, and they're posting this thing of like, yeah, give me 6 fan art ideas to draw. It's like a grid of 6 rectangles, and then they draw different fan art renditions of characters that people will tweet at them. And I didn't think of this in the beginning, but I should have. I was like, now when I see that, I'm like, Ash Williams doing something with comic books, because I'm kind of like trying to get a free poach to be like, yeah, because if they do it, I'll have some art that I can use. I know it's kind of slimy, but they don't have to do it. I'm just asking. So, but if anyone else, I know there's some people, and it doesn't have to be like, if you want to do it cartoony style, however, that'd be cool. Anyways, so I don't know how everyone's doing. What is today? Third. I'm losing all, being in quarantine and stuck in the house. I don't know about you guys, but I lose like track of days. It's weird. I feel like I'm in prison. Let's see. Everyone's talking to Eric Breen, so I'll just skip that. Ash with a comic as a sniper scope. That'd be kind of weird. Oh my God, that bodysuit and thong outfit for Gambit. Yeah, it's pretty horrendous. Lost in Comics. Hey, bud. Lost in Comics is a duo of guys that I discovered. I'm forgetting their names off the top of my head, but they do a show where they just talk about their love for comics, and they do a few different streams. And So yeah, go give them a check out sometime. You can find their link by right-clicking on the little dots next to their comments. It'll take you to that channel. They do some really cool stuff. They had a giveaway that they did a little while ago for like their 250th sub or whatever. And I wanted that. I got to tell you, I wanted that giveaway so bad. They did an awesome giveaway. They gave away a select comic book. There was a couple different choices that they had. It was either a comic or a group of comics. Anyway, they had a different lot you could choose. And then they gave away this really cool custom, one of those like insulated kind of mugs that are like real popular right now, but it had like custom art and their channel stuff. And then they gave away one of those really cool BCW plastic comic book boxes that I just love, but every time I see them, I look at the price and I'm like, ugh. I'm like, I want one. So, but anyway, it was a really cool giveaway, guys. And I'm bummed that I missed, that I didn't get my name drawn. But anyways, shout out to their channel. I think I've plugged them quite a bit. And if they're giving away stuff at $250, they're going to be giving away tons of stuff when they break 500, 1,000, 5,000. So, yeah, keep it going, guys. It's good to have some positive comic stuff on there, because I gotta tell you, a lot of the people I kind of came in back into the hobby listening to have really either have gone away or they've just like succumbed to the drama of all the little culture war nonsense stuff. And I'm like, look, I get that it's there, but I'm not into. You got to have the comics too, that's what I want. So Eric says, anyone can draw a picture of Ash reading a comic, please do, because it looks like that's as close as we're gonna get. Yeah, buddy, that was a swing and a miss. Jordan Pop, cool X-Men comic. Yeah, buddy, thanks. Hey, thanks for showing up. Nice to meet you. I think it's the first time I've seen you in the chat. So I kind of covered in the beginning. You may have missed what's going on. Real just super quick rehash. 3 parts, chit chat, banter is what's happening now. Part 2, reading the opening act comic, which we're going to go through and read X-Men 266. And then part 3, we're going to read the final act, which is the ongoing book that I've been reading in multiple parts, Gideon Falls. And we're on issue 4 tonight. Yeah, issue 4 of Gideon Falls. And so in the previous streams, I did issue 1, then 2, then 3. So if you haven't watched those and you haven't read the comic book, you're going to come in a little bit lost, but that's up to you. Oh, yeah, another shout out, by the way. If those of you guys that follow my channel and you remember a while back, I did my very first Storytime episode where I did a reading of the Brian Michael Bendis short story that was in Detective Comics 1000. I got a lot of positive feedback from that. It just takes way too much time to do. It took me like 4 or 5 hours just to do an 8-page comic. But I did a read. But anyways, these guys over here at Lawson Comics have been doing the Snyder New 52 Batman. I think they're on like issue 4, which I'm behind. I've only watched the first episode. I thought they were going to take a while to bang these out because I knew how long it took me to do mine. And they've just been banging them out like every couple of days, which probably helps that everyone's in quarantine. Everyone's got a lot of time on their hands, but they've been doing a good job, better than mine. They actually have multiple voice actors, so like they actually get women to do the women's voices, and unlike my little 8-page thing, they do the whole book. It's cool. They do a good job. So I just wanted to give them more props on that. You can find that all on their channel and re-enjoy those books again. I guess it's time to probably get into the book. Let's go into X-Men 266. Now, the first book I did was X-Men 201, which was a few issues before I started collecting X-Men. It was kind of a pinnacle issue. Then I did issue 210, which was the first issue, it was the issue that had come out when I got into collecting, but it was actually the second issue I read because I got the month previous at the same time. But it's the issue that really hooked me, that as we talked about in that last stream, that this is what defined my attitudes for what the X-Men were and what I wanted from them. And This is a little bit later, obviously, from 210 to 266. We're jumping forward. This is now, we're skipping the entire Mark Silvestri part. That was Rick Leonardi was the primary artist previously. Now the Mark Silvestri had a long run, and then Jim Lee took over. Now, for whatever reason, the first appearance of Gambit issue, which is a chase, it's a collector's item. It's what you call a key issue. This doesn't have Jim Lee. This was an issue that just came out and no one gave a crap about when it came out. It had you can see on the art, the cover is kind of horrendous. When I was young and this book came out, I was like, what the hell is this? I remember kind of being upset about this book. Now, I haven't read this book in 20 years. It's sitting in the dark somewhere in a comic book box that hasn't been opened in 20 years. So I don't remember the exact details of what's in this particular comic. I just remember it bothering me. Not because it was a terrible book, because it just didn't do the things that I liked about X-Men. So, Lost and Compass is so disappointed that Lee wasn't on this. If Jim Lee was on this, I don't know if that would make the book worth more. I think because key collectors don't really care what's there, but maybe it might be a little bit more if it were a Jim Lee book, and it had a nice cover. Like, covers kind of can be attractive for that. See, Dane says, foreign dude, glad to have you, but Ash's rambling is kind of the draw here. Relax, man. Hey, I don't know what to call you because I can't read. What did you say it was Arabic? So if you gave us your name, I didn't see it, but if you told us your name, that'd be cool, so I know what to call you. Otherwise, we have to say foreign dude. But yeah, like I told you, this is the rambling part. I know you're here for the book. It's all in due time. It's coming. I give people a chance to roll in, but I have blathered probably too long. So let's go ahead and get into it now. Issue 266 of the Uncanny X-Men. Enter the mutant called Gambit. Gambit, Out of the Frying Pan, a Stan Lee presentation. All right, got to get the zoom in mode here. There we go. A Mississippi Riverfront mansion on the outskirts of Cairo, Illinois. Do you like my pets, Aurora? Or would you prefer to be called Storm? I've christened them Hounds. Isn't it amazing how much even the most ordinary and banal of people can change? When I summon forth the shadow in their souls, I wonder what form yours will take, my young Wind Rider, when I do the same to you. Starring Storm, leader of the Uncanny X-Men, now mysteriously trapped inside the body of a child. By all means, resist. I enjoy a good show. It will change nothing. Flesh and spirit now and forever in this world and in any other. You belong to me. Is that it? All done so soon? I'm disappointed, child. I expected better. Speaking of better, I expected better of me. Forgot to do like this. Ah well, such is life. Bring her to me. Let's get this over with once and for all. Ha ha! Now that's more like the Aurora I remember. Finally using your mutant powers, eh, girl? For what it's worth, this was no more than a flash of light. It will not do these human beasts even a little harm. But it will buy me a moment to try to break free of the Shadow King's trap. A bathroom. Blessed Mother, I have seen smaller houses. Where are the windows? I have to get out. Who am I fooling? as if the evil one will let me. All he has to do is reach out with his thoughts and seize my mind as he did those others. Speaking of whom, here they come. Towel in the fountain. Then across the face of the first through the door. They do not think well, these hounds. Make them angry. And push and poke and prod them into a frenzy. That makes them predictable. Better the rage they feel, the ever-increasing pace of our battle. It should make it harder for them, the evil men, to tally what is happening. Problem is, one mistake on my part, Waterjet is not very forceful. Can I add a gust of wind to send this hound on its way? Yes. Must be careful of the spikes. Up close, they could do serious injury. Oh, the one that rammed the shower. I thought he was unconscious. Get him off. Ouch. Spike into my palm. Cannot worry about what hurts. Later, the Shadow King in the doorway. Perfect. Ah! Even my little wind should prove sufficient to billow the drapes and bedcloths behind me, entangling any who would try to follow. Enough! Isn't fun anymore, kiddo. Game's over. You lose. I wanted to take my time with this. I've waited a human generation for the pleasure, but you're one tough little sweetheart. Better to think on the air side of discretion. You're no match for me, girl. All you're doing is causing yourself needless agony. Give it up. Never! Ah! Scow! Backlash. Losing my balance. The railing. My winds. Can't focus my thoughts. Where are they to summon them? Why won't they save me? Splash. Skiff. Elf cough. Is he dead? Please, oh please. I hit him with all I had. Let it be so. Fantasy? A dream? Stories are the Shadow King can never die. Someone coming. Skiff, cough, skiff, cough. Is it him? Rise and shine, O most dread lord and master. There are fit occasions for the experience of your biting wit, Dr. Shen. I am but as you made me. This isn't one of them. Same as you did those hounds. Save where you pulled a beast from their souls. You trapped the wicked in mine. Can't hurt me any worse than that. Besides, tempting fate with you is fun. Teach me, I suppose, to follow in Baron Frankenstein's footsteps. Storms hit me hard. You need a hospital? Hardly. A shame my mutant powers can't restore my clothes as easily as my flesh. Still, in a millionaire's household, I'm sure I'll find something suitable to replace them. Since the millionaire is now one of your hounds, he's sure not to mind. Leon, this fog. Storm's doing, I suppose, to cover her tracks. Interesting. My telepathy seems unable to lock under her psyche. Some form of mental interference. Won't save her, though, from my hounds. One way or another, regardless of what it takes or how long, Aurora will be mine. All right, let's see the chat here. A little break. Let's see. Awesome Comics is awesome. Been waiting to catch one of these reads. Great, cool. Thanks, man. That's very flattering. Let's see. Dane says Eric already screenshots of Ash Williams. Start doodling tomorrow. Hey, that's awesome. Marania says he said Faisal earlier. Ash. Oh, okay. I hope I'm pronouncing Faisal correctly. Thanks, Marania. Lawson Comics getting popcorn. Ronnie says, what is it with the spiky costumes? Was that considered edgy? Actually, Ronnie, that's a good question. So In the mutant future, the Sentinels, the days of future past, there were these creatures, well, not creatures, they're mutants called hounds. And Rachel Summers, the daughter of Scott Summers and Jean Grey, who's from that future, who was in the last issues we read and talked about, she comes from that future, and she used to be a hound. She was captured, and what they do is there are certain mutants that have certain powers that have the ability to track other mutants, such as Rachel's telepathy and stuff. So, the hounds, they just, I don't know what it is. I guess it was considered kind of edgy. So, Faisal says that I butcher it. Yeah, buddy, I know, I guess I didn't give that disclaimer in the beginning of this episode. I am not pretending to be a professional voice actor, nor are you paying to watch any of this. This is, I am just a comic fan trying to share enthusiasm for comics. So I apologize if I'm not delivering a professional performance to you. Just doing my best. Also, as I've talked about in the past, some of these older books, the way that they're lettered, man, the word balloons, they go all over the place, and when I'm doing it in this zoomed in mode where it's like I can't see the whole page, it's hard to tell sometimes who's talking. So I'm like, which voice do I do? And it causes me to kind of stutter it up and everything. So you'll see, I'll probably do a better job in Gideon Falls, because those are a lot simpler to do. So I'll do my best, buddy. I'm sorry if that's the case. Also, I didn't practice on this, so this is a total cold read. So yeah, just call you K. Okay, I'll call you K. Let's see. Jordan Peeps, I think them 90 clothes with spikes are cool. It was just the costume of the hounds. For whatever reason, the comic artist, whoever came up with the design for what the mutant hounds look like, they were slaves. They were like dogs, right? And I think the spikes were to represent symbolically, how guard dogs typically have like a spiked collar. Hounds were treated like dogs, and so I think that was kind of why. And the hounds with Shadow King was kind of weird. I don't remember them really be associated with him. I think he's just using them for his own purpose. They're not really a Shadow King thing to my memory. But let's get back into the book. Elsewhere, and far too close for comfort. Orphan Maker, what is the matter with you? You gone deaf? If you've turned off all your oral receptors, Peter, I'll be so crossed. All these alarms sounding, and you didn't hear a thing. Out of the monitor chair this instant. I'm sorry, Nanny, Be quiet. I haven't time for your sorries right now, you wretched boy. Our scanners detected Storm once more. She must be actively using her elemental abilities. Why didn't you lock in the locator to pinpoint her position? Must I do everything? I thought you were responsible, Peter, that I could trust you with really important tasks. It's her fault. Ever since you found Storm, things started going bad. You can... Too late. The pattern's gone. But that other alongside hers, merciful heavens, no, it can't be. A mutant signature I haven't seen for years, and prayed never to see again. I thought, hoped, prayed that he was dead. More fool I. How can the devil incarnate die? Poor dear. Sweet innocent Aurora in the clutches of that monster. Peter, have you any notion of what your jealousy, your negligence has done? No, and I don't care either. I hope it's really awful, because it's what she deserves for ruining our lives. Don't say that, even if you mean it. The Shadow King is the most awful and absolute evil. If he gets his hands on Storm, or you for that matter, he'll twist her up inside and out, transform her into a reflection of himself, and then turn her loose to do his bidding. Daddy, help! She's attacking me! If you're lucky, Peter, the Shadow King's hounds will kill you when they catch you. She's got claws. Get her. She's get me. Otherwise, you may end up running by the sides, part of his unholy pack. Stop being such a silly point. It's only a holographic projection, not even the slightest bit real. It can't do you any harm. But Storm can. Oh, sorry. But Storm can. That's the future, my bold, brave boy. For her and many, many others. Unless we save them first. That was some foreshadowing. So, for those of you guys who didn't read X-Men back in the day like this, Chris Claremont was really famous for weaving subplots through all of his books. Issue after issue, you would have what we just read, where there'd be like, hey, we're off somewhere else, something going on. And then a year, 2 years, 5 years later, something would come into being. And the thing is once he got established running, it wasn't like you were waiting for these things to happen, because he had already laid out dozens and dozens. So he was constantly going back. Every issue was him going back to something else that he had laid the groundwork for, and then continuing to lay new groundwork. And it was like a domino effect, and they just kept cycling, and it was really fantastic. Once you got into X-Men, no comic, to my knowledge, has ever been able to replicate the way he's done this. And so the whole thing about Nanny is, she's kind of recreates. And so if you read some of the other stories that she's done, like the X-Men Annual, I think it was X-Men Annual 10, the X-Babies, it's like she's like captures the X-Men and wants to protect them and turn them in. I never really liked the character. I'm just using this as an example to describe kind of how Claremont wove these really intricate, long form plots that just gave you something to sink your teeth into for years and years. But I'll continue. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, he has not said a word since pulling me from the pool and along with him down to the vault. Who is he? Easier by far to tell what he does here. Same as me, I bet. A thief. The owner of this house had those paintings stolen. That picture. Just awful. To add to his private collection, I meant to take them back and return them where they rightfully belonged. All along, though, it was a trap set by the Shadow King for me. This other thief is totally absorbed in his work. He has forgotten about me. Good. By the time he notices I want to be... Attendez, Sherry? Watch the door. Huh? Hound! Oh, wow! Wow! Do us both a favor, eh, Pup? Scoot away from the girl. Other ideas, eh? You're gonna carry the kidling back to your boss and claim a pat on the tit? I don't know how to pronounce that. An extra ration of yummies? Figured as much. I can't let you do that. And faster than the eye can follow, a throwing spike flips up out of the sleeve and into his hand. Same motion carries his arm back, then forward. Ordinary piece of metal when it leaves his hand. Something far more when it strikes the wall with the force of a cannon shell. Scram! Hasn't been your night, eh, Sherry? Or maybe it has, considering how often I'm here to rescue you. I am called Storm. Don't need you. Do fine enough on my own. Yeah, right. Tell me another. I'm Gambit, Stormy, and I don't believe a word. Some great choice you leave me, a fortune in classical art. Or you. Paintings will keep. Us thieves, we have to stick together. Besides, I'm intrigued. If you're who I think you are, I'd like to find out. How you got so good so young. Appearances are deceiving. In Aurora's case, she's not altogether what she seems. But that, my friend, is none of your affair. Right you are, Sherry. Woof! Just a wandering, working stiff is all. Same as the other, plying my trade, hustling up the big score. Don't need to be told. Just stepped way out of my league. No problem, no offense. Practical man knows his limitations. Minds his own business. Realizes when the time comes to cut his losses. Want the girl? Yours? With my compliments. Take the art too. He talks and talks, and they listen, almost as though they cannot help themselves. He binds them with his web of words. Even the hounds are charmed. Wait, one hound below, two more here. Where is the last of the pack and their master? Very snappy patter, my young friend. I dare say, given a decent opportunity, you might seduce even me. Once you've undergone a proper, albeit painful, reorientation, that's a talent I can put to considerable use. Leave him alone! Another lightning bolt? No! Nothing happened. Stupid, stupid power, always quitting on me when I need it the most. Pity for you, Aurora. Blessing for me. One I do not intend to let pass by. Some sort of mental zap, frying the Sherry's brain. Same as he tried with mine. Aye! Her diversion saved me. Only fitting I return the favor. Boom! So, the lad's more than just another pretty face. His abilities have an active, aggressive dimension as well. You shouldn't have missed, boy. With me in mind, there's no second shot. Poor darling. All this excitement seems to have taken its toll. Too weak to stand, much less fight. Such a shame. So many pretty words you spoke. But far worse, the hints dropped, promises made without words. That wasn't nice. I enjoyed temptation. Now more than I ever dreamed. But I won't be trifled with. The hearth. Soot billowing into the room. Storm's doing. Has to be. Lost her in the shuffle. Where's she gone? Find her, fools, before... Barely able to breathe. Cough, cough. Stay close by, Gambit. He'll try to... Get him. This is getting to be a habit. I've lost track, Sherry. Who rescues whom next? Do not make fun. We are far from safe or free. My wind powers will not hold that soot cloud for very long. Time enough to reach my car, maybe? Only if it's parked right outside the front door. Off the estate. Not a hope, then. The grounds are too vast. I have an alternative, but we need to reach the roof. The last hound and the evil one himself bar that way. Not for long. Sayonara, suckers! Happy landings, hopefully in Hades. No sign of him. Think we got lucky, Stormy? Do not call me that, please. And do you wish to hang about to make certain? Better idea. You know, Sherry, you don't like to... You know, Sherry, you don't talk like any kid I've ever heard. I talk how I talk. What are you waiting for? Relax. There's time. Trust me. You're mad. Same as you, Sherry. Give folks like us a major edge. 911. Hello, police? Remember that big Boston museum heist? I know where you can find the loot. If we can't steal the stuff, least we can do is make sure the slob who stole them in the first place never gets a chance to enjoy them. So, where do we go from here? Hold on to me for dear life. Good thing you're so young. I might start to get ideas. Oh gosh, that's terrible what happened today. This is... Better shoot. Shoot. Not likely to be much help down here. Just goes to show you do not know everything. Wow, very nice, Stormy. The way you get the wind to do whatever you want. How come it doesn't always work, eh? Because some people won't shut up. And let me focus the concentration I need to prevent that from happening. A while later, some distance away. Saw cop cars coming as we lifted off. Wind's dying. We're floating down just like a chute's supposed to. So I figure it's okay to chat, yes? Oh, just the Gambit voice. TV trucks too, Sherry. Should be quite a media circus. Shame to miss it. Keep the bad guys off our trail for the immediate. Nice neighborhood. Is this where you call home, Stormy? Let me see. Was it a plane graveyard? Aircraft graveyard? I told you. Name fits. Hang loose, kidling. I get you. I'd need no help, especially from the likes of you. She grabs the dagger from his hand. Only trying to be a gentleman. I could see the strain you were under. I thought I'd give you a gentler landing is all. Say, Sherry, after we've been through, at least I've earned us the benefit of the doubt. Why else do you think I took you off that roof? I had plenty of time to leave without you. From here, Gambit, we start fresh. Suits me. Trouble is, I get the feeling it won't be quite so easy to walk away clean from this caper as you make out. No, it will not. The evil one neither forgets nor forgives. Evil one? That sounds a bit ripe. He have a name? As many as he has faces, most often calling himself the Shadow King. To me, though, Evil One is what fits him best. He makes slaves of people, enchanting their minds and souls. Dr. Shen is such a one. She was a kind, decent woman before. He has a special hatred for me. Now he has a sense of where I am. He will move heaven and earth to track me down. Can he? The hounds have tasted my blood, and the Shadow King my thoughts. I take it that's a yes. And if they catch you, what'll he do then? Whatever he pleases. To me. To all who stand by my side. All right, pause for a second here. Read the chat. I'm not as good as doing as this is Skip. He can jump in and read stuff while and then right back in nice and smooth. Let's see. Dane says Luis and Necenti say he'd forget things he set up and then he'd get himself stuck and think he couldn't go any further. And then one of them say, what about? And then off he'd go. Skip and Todd says, that's a pretty solid Remy. Oh man, I feel like I'm butchering it, but I appreciate that I'm doing okay. Dane says he's got to be up early and take off. Man, I'm sorry I started late. I'm going to try to get these earlier, try to coordinate better with Skip. If you're still here, have a good night. Let's see. Ronnie says, I don't know who the letterer is for these issues, but whenever I see that style, it feels like the X-Men. I didn't read the credits, but I'll be willing to bet you it's Tom Orzechowski. The guy was the top letterer in the business back in these days, and back when there was actually, you had to hand letter comics, letters really mattered. And lettering still does matter because it's not about how well your penmanship is, although that's a huge deal. But you also have to kind of know where to place things. Now, I could criticize Tom a little bit here because some of these word balloons conversations are complicated, but Claremont was notorious for this, and some of his artists apparently, from my understanding, complained that they'd cram up all of their art with his word balloons because he had so much dialogue and things going on. And Orzechowski's job was to not only make it so that the reader could follow the story and read the balloons, but also put them in places, of course, that didn't just muck up the entire comic. Um, Making a comic like this is kind of like I'd imagine being in a band. It's like the drummer and the guitar player and the vocalist and the bassist, like they all have to be in sync. They all have to be doing their own thing, but complementing each other. And if one gets off, it throws off the whole other thing. So that's what I'm gonna guess. Let's see. Eric says, "Good night, kids. Sleep is calling." The old days when Eric used to actually stay a part of my streams. I miss those. Good night, buddy. Have a good night. Let's see. Ron says, "I could never be a hand letter. I tried in the past. Bad." Yeah, it's tough. I mean, some of these panels, like this one right here, it looks as good as modern, typography. Tom was a really solid as far as penmanship goes. Anyways, let's get back to the book. Washington, D.C. A slightly seedy townhouse on some federal land hard by Rock Creek Park that serves as a headquarters for the government's enhanced powers strike team, Freedom Force. A roaring fireplace. Person puts her hand on a palm reader. Dr. Valerie Cooper, President's National Security Advisor for Superhuman Affairs. Irene. We see a photograph walking up some stairs. And we see it's Mystique looking at the photograph, changing into someone else, pulling out a gun. Clack. Now she's looking like someone else. Pulls out a goblet. Right on time, Val. Precisely as expected. I'm sorry, Mystique. I have to do this. I understand. The Shadow King wants me dead. And when he commands, his slaves must obey. How do you know? What did you mean, Shapechanger, precisely as expected? One of the curses of being a precog, and make no mistake, Destiny was one of the best, has to be the awareness of your own mortality, of sensing in all the possible alternatives, all the moments and your manners of your own death. Yet Destiny did nothing to prevent it. She willingly chose and embraced her fate. I suppose I can do no less. Because that knowledge was no bar to her, while still alive, foreseeing what lies ahead for those she loved, including the moment, Val Cooper, when you'd come to kill me. Blam! We see this light from the window. Next, the nanny into the fire. And so you can see in this issue, there's two big plot thread stories. The nanny subplot and then the Mystique. All the while we get an origin story, not really an origin, sort of an introduction story of Gambit. And so you can kind of see this was in the height of my favorite era of X-Men. I absolutely adored. No, close. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Comixology. This is my absolutely most adored era of X-Men. But this book, it was just okay for me. I don't know what you guys thought. You can put your comments, wherever they go. You put them in there. Let me see, and I'll read comments. Let's see. Ronnie is giving hugs to Aaron. Let's see. Modern lettering bugs me because there are times that they use fancy fonts because they serve the story. Plus, lazy editors don't spell check them, so more errors get in the old days. Yeah. Melissa Harris is here. Hello, Ash. Hey, good to see you, Melissa. Thanks for joining us. Lost Comics agrees with Marania. Um, Lost in Comics really enjoy how Mystique was written. Yeah, old school Mystique. And, this is one of those cases I like to go back when we're reading the Claremont comics. So this is the third issue I've read so far. And pointing out how these X-Men are so different from the current iteration. It's like here we see clearly that Mystique talks about Destiny just embraced her death. She could see the future and stuff, but she didn't feel like she needed to change it. And yet in the modern telling, in the Hickman story, the Destiny is a completely different character. It's, she's like burning Moira McTaggart alive and saying, basically just trying to stop the future and not letting her do things. And it's like, it's just another example. And I bring this up not to try to ruin anyone's experience of modern X-Men or anything, but it's like, I talk so often to people and I get into discussions, not as much lately since I stopped reading the Dawn of X books. But I would get into discussions about why I wasn't liking it. And it's like, oh, this is how the X-Men have always been. And I'd be like, no, it's not. It's not. These characters are all so different. This one didn't illustrate quite as much as like some of the previous, like last episode when we talked about Kitty Pryde and how different she is versus now and then. But yeah, you can see Destiny was totally different type of person. Now Mystique has always been kind of a bad person, right? And I've always felt Mystique is bad in the way kind of Catwoman is bad, is not because she's diabolic, but she's just had a really effed up life, and life has been so hard to her that she doesn't know how to trust anyone, to embrace anyone. She only knows how to look out for number one, and she's just become a hard person. And she's kind of almost a tragic character, in my opinion. Let's see. Lost and Con says, I'm there with you, Ash. I was on for Powers and House of X, but just could not keep it going down for Dawn of X. I'm the same way. House and Powers was so good. Man, that was so good. I mean, now I'm a diehard X-Men like fanboy, and I've said, and I don't know which issue it was. I think it was House of X number 4, maybe, when everyone remembers the scene where Wolverine goes into the sun with the Sentinel head, and that whole scene with him and Kurt on the space station, and Wolverine's he's like, am I, what's after death? He knows he's going to die. And they have this meaningful, that is one of the best scenes I've ever read in any X-Men comic ever. It's like top X-Men scene of all time. Anyways, gotta give it some praise there. Melissa Harris, the current version is not the X-Men. There are human-hating pro-segregationist version of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. I refuse to call them X-Men or heroes. Well, I mean, they're definitely not fitting the classical description of heroes. That is for sure. Let's see. Lost in Comics, that was a good issue. Pulled the heartstrings. Yeah, totally. Skip is still into it, but only the main X-Men series. And it's grabbing some people still. And like I said, my goal is never to try to steer people away from liking it. Just wanting to be able to properly present my perspective so people understand why it doesn't jive for me. But let's get prepared as we're sitting here jibber-jabbing for the main event, which is Gideon Falls number 4. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying this book. I've been liking it okay. I kind of described at the end of last stream how it was making me feel. I do love these covers. I think these roadmap covers are just super clever. I haven't seen anyone do this, where they do like the aerial shot, like the satellite, picture, which I've always been fascinated with, by the way. Ever since, I was a kid, when I'd go to the library and see like aerial shots of like cities and stuff, and just I always thought that was fast. I love looking at pictures of stuff like that. So seeing these covers and then having how they design them in a certain way that there's like an image within the image, it just adds to the motif. And I'm also a huge fan of like consistent design. So they took this design concept and then they just made it on every single issue, and I'm like, bravo. So Lost in Comics, they guys have to get some sleep. But man, thank you for joining us for the time that you had. We'll try to do these streams a little earlier in the future. I know you guys are on the East Coast. I'm pretty sure you guys are out in Florida. I can't remember, but have a good night. And we're going to now get into the bedtime story to get for the rest of the late night owls something to give them some sweet dreams. Gideon Falls, number 4, by Jeff Lemire, Andre Sorrentino, Twin Shadows. And before I forget, because I'm a bozo, let's go to full screen. It's right there. It's always been there. All you have to do is look. People laugh it off as just another rural legend, a ghost story, but it's not. It's fact. The Black Barn's history and Gideon Falls are entwined. So we got a picture of a newspaper. It's highlighted the Black Barn. Historian puzzled over rural legend of the Black Barn. The first recorded mention of the barn goes back to 1794. There are records of a building, nothing more than a barn or stable, made of strange, dark wood, that appeared as if overnight, from thin air. Soon after, a series of fires and deaths plagued these early pilgrims. But it's not just some haunted house. It has power, terrible power. In 1969, a local man was arrested for killing 7 teenagers. The police found drawings in the Black Barn filling the walls of his cabin. And there are so many other accounts. Many don't reference the barn directly, but you can read between the lines. Look long and hard enough at the worst moments of Gideon Falls history, and you'll find clues to the Black Barn. Newspaper headline says, local cult leader arrest. I have no idea what it really is or where it came from. Though I have theories, all I do know is that this is a thing of evil, and it must be stopped. I'm sorry, Doctor, but this is all just, well, to be frank, it all sounds like nonsense to me. But, you saw it. The night Father Tom Gene Tremblay died? Deputy Ballard told me he's one of us, you see? And how do you know that? One of you? One of what? Oh, yes. Hold on. I'll show you. Yes, Father Tom had this in his secret stash. These are the first of us, Father. These are the first plowmen. Plowmen? That's what they call themselves. What we call ourselves. An organization of collection of local men of influence who have stood against the darkness of the Black Barn since the turn of the last century. Interesting little shape of a cross here as they show the picture of the plowmen. Some sort of secret club. We're far more than a club, Father. We're the guardians. We're all that stands between Gideon Falls and the Black Barn. Right. And Deputy Ballard is one of those plowmen. And yourself? Yes. And Father Tom was too. Father Tom believed in all this? I find that hard to believe. Is it easier to believe that he just killed a woman in cold blood? A man of God? A man who gave everything he had to helping his community for years? For 30 years? So, you think he's innocent of killing Mrs. Tremblay? I know he is, Father. And tell me, Dr. Sutton, do you still practice medicine? No, not for some time. May I ask what made you stop? That's a long story, and besides, I don't think it's relevant. Father, we have more important things to discuss here. No, I don't think we do, Doctor. I think this whole mythology you've created here is very troubling. And I believe that you believe it, but you're the man of faith, Father. I need you to believe. We need you. I believe in God, Doctor. Not science fiction, I'm sorry. Don't leave. You saw it. Father, you saw it. How can you just walk away? I saw something that night, but given the circumstances, it was the barn. The black barn has returned. We have to prepare. Tell me, Doctor, have you ever seen this black barn? No, but that doesn't mean I don't know it's real. Isn't that what faith is, Father? After all, Father Fred? I'm starting to wonder that myself, Doctor. Good night. And he's left hanging, looking out the door. Case file 2351, Sinclair Norton. Known relatives, none. Norton's early history is unknown. He was found in the streets as a child of approximately 8 or 9 years of age. Norton knew only his first name and seemed to be suffering from amnesia and disorientation. After an extensive and fruitless background search by Child Welfare Services, Norton was committed to St. John of the Evangelist Catholic Orphanage, where he stayed for the next 7 years. Norton was diagnosed with severe depression, anxiety, and early signs of schizophrenia. She's washing her face in the sink, it appears. Grabbing a hand towel. Seeing the black barn. She turns around. Because it was a reflection in the mirror, but there's nothing there. Horrified face. Turns the lights on. Not sure what that is. No. No. And I have no idea what I'm looking at. No. Hand pointing. She's throwing something. Something's breaking. That was hard to make sense of. If anyone has any idea what that was, you can put that in the comments. Meanwhile, looks like we're outside somewhere in the rain. It's always raining here. Looks like the sheriff on a porch. Sheriff, hope you don't mind me stopping by like this. I tried you down at the station, but they said you were off duty. No bother. Don't get much company. Beer? No, I shouldn't. Oh, right. Sorry, I didn't think. It's okay, really. Mind if I sit? Take a load off, Padre. So, what's so important that you had to come all the way out here, Father? Well, it's this, actually. I found it in Father Tom's room under a floorboard, if you can believe that. No wonder your men didn't find it when they swept for the rectory for his belongings. What's all this? Oh, jeez. You don't seem surprised. I've heard enough of this haunted barn bullshit for one lifetime, Father. Pardon my French. You're absolved. I went and saw this Doc Sutton character, and he's a character. And I think I've heard about enough of it, too. You saw Doc? Why? His name was on those photos. I just thought I'd see what it was all about. It's like you said before, something about Father Tom's guilt just doesn't seem right. And all the nonsense Sutton told me, that this is one thing we agreed on. He thinks Tom was innocent too, and in fact, seems Tom was part of a secret club of his, the Plowmen. Do you know anything about that? Father, the Plowmen were an agricultural club, not some secret society. Sutton has twisted history and created this whole story to feed into his obsession with the barn. Did you know one of your deputies, Ballard, is a member of his little club? No, I did not. I'll have to have a little talk with him. Look, Father. Sutton, men like him, they've used the stupid ghost story about a barn to make excuses for them. All the real problems that have plagued this town. Sometimes it's easier to believe a fairy tale than face the truth. You of all people should know that. I don't know what you mean. Let's just say I've never been much of a believer in the fairy tale your team sells either. Ouch. Okay. Sorry, that was rude. It's okay. No offense taken. Well, I guess I should get going. I never ask. So, you have a family, a husband, or... Sorry, I didn't mean to pry. No, just me. I think I read those out of order. It's okay. I was married, but he, passed away. Oh, I'm sorry. It was a while ago. We married young. Ring. Shit, hold on. Tony, what's up? What? Fuck. Stay put and call for backup. I'm on the way. Is everything all right? No, we have another situation. I gotta go. Can I do anything to help? Go home, Father. Actually, maybe you should drive. I've had a few. And we have one of those upside down shots. A foot in the rain. Splish, splish. Splish, splish. Norton! Dr. Zhu? No, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. The rain, what's wrong? Oh, wait, I'm reading this out of order again. This is bad lettering. See, here's the importance of good lettering, folks. Norton, I've been following you for 2 blocks. I saw you leave your building. Didn't you hear me calling you? No, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. The rain, what's wrong? Something else has happened, Norton, and did someone hurt you? No, but I saw the barn again. Or part of it, I think. Norton, what's happening to me? I'm scared. I am too. But you believe me now? Yes, but that scares me even more. It's okay. It's okay. It's going to be okay. Is it? Look at that image. That's a pretty haunting image. I don't know if you can see the dual imagery there of the silhouette, but if you look and see the skull face in the red, you got the eyes, the nose, and the teeth. I think something is going to happen, Norton. Something terrible. Is it against some kind of law for me to be driving this thing? Yeah, remind me to arrest you again when this is over. And what is exactly happening? What am I driving us into, Sheriff? Not sure. Deputy Ballard says there's trouble at the Reddy farm. Says he got a call about shots fired. Shots fired? Shouldn't I have a bulletproof vest or something? You really think Gideon Falls can afford a bulletproof vest, Father? Just stay in the car. You'll be fine. Turn left here. Reddy. Wait, this is Joe Reddy's place, right? I met him at Mass the other day. Good for you. Stop here. Janet? What's happening? Where's Deputy Ballard? Janet? He made me wait outside. What? Who did? Deputy Ballard, what's going on here? No, Joe. Joe made me call for you, and then he made me wait outside. I'm so sorry. Ballard, Tony, can you hear me? Answer me, Tony. Is everything... I told you to wait in the car. I'm sorry. I just nothing. Stay there. Tony, are you... Dear Jesus. Hello, Father. I've been waiting for you. To be continued. That's creepy. And that is Gideon Falls, issue 4. Here's the next issue, Gideon 5, that will be on the next episode. So the story's starting to pick up a little bit, and we're actually starting to see some crap go down. We can check out the chat, because it looks like there's been a ton of it while I've been reading. I guess I don't... It's always like one of those double-edged swords. It's like when I read and then I come back to the chat and then there isn't any, part of me thinks, oh, maybe everyone's just engrossed in the story, so they're not chatting. But then I'm like, oh, where's all the chat? There's not. And then when I come back and there's a ton of chat, I'm just like, oh, I guess I'm boring everyone. So it's like, it's no win for me. Let's see. Looks like some Malcolm X talk. I'm going to assume that all the X-Men, Jonathan Hickman stuff. I'm scrolling. Yeah, once that fire gets lit, it just blazes forever. You can just talk. One thing, you can criticize Jonathan Hickman's X-Men, but you can't say it doesn't get people talking. That's for sure. All right, so let's see if I can skim past all the Malcolm X talk. Skip says the skull is awesome. Yeah, I thought that was really cool imagery. That was my favorite part of the book. I'm not super fan of Andre Sorrentino's art. I mean, it's fine. Skip says he's enjoying the muted colors. I think the muted colors serve this story well, especially with the contrast. It allows the reds to really stand out, because that red is like a bright, like Ferrari red that they always use. And I like the silhouette of using that to have the black barn silhouette against it. There's some good visual here. I think part of the problem that I'm having is that I'm reading it like panel by panel in the blow up mode. So Andre Sorrentino's art looks really, really scraggly and sketchy because I'm blowing it. It's like zoomed in. If we were to look at the pages, as... Oh, man. Why is Comixology's thing so dumb? Yeah, here we go. Starting at the thing. And we just kind of like flip through the book. I'm going to flip it like how we would read it, like it's a normal comic. it looks a lot better than when you just like zoom in, so like this page, you can see these weird panels, but when you do the zoomed in, you're seeing this, and it's just like, it doesn't quite lend itself as much to, when you see the whole page. So I'm trying to concede that notion. I don't think if I read the book this way, well, first of all, it'd be really hard on my screen, man. The font size for the word balloons is microscopic. It's a little hard to read, but it does have a very moody feel when I look at it in full page. That doesn't come across in panel by panel. So I think it's fair to do the comic, to flip through it like I am right now, to give you, the person who hasn't read the book on your own, a sense to appreciate what the art looks like in the way that it's meant to be consumed. So let's see. Okay, more is a villain. I'm going to skip past the X-Men talk because I don't want to open a new can of worms. Skip says he's loving this, Ash. Thank you. Way more than I thought I would. Oh, that's cool. That's good to hear. Dominic says, I do like how the muted colors are used in the right place and the right time. It helps evoke the emotions that they're presented in the books. Color theory lessons coming in. Yeah, I can agree with that. I'm trying. That's one thing I'm enjoying about this book, is I do feel like that there's visual symbolism being used here, and I'm trying to decipher it. I do feel that even if my subjective take, or my subjective enjoyment of the art is kind of irrelevant, I do think it's purposeful. I think that the artist has a plan and is doing, like I said, symbolism and things that are there that are important, and I'm enjoying trying to see it. I don't know if I am seeing it all, but let's see what else here. Colors is the area that I'm improving on as a skill for my style of art. I've been experimenting with oil-based colored pencils and watercolor, says Dominic. Cool. Colors remind me of Kill or Be Killed. Yeah, I really gotta check out. Everyone raved about Kill or Be Killed. I kind of wish I would have bought that book when it came out, but I'll go back to it and read it in some sort of trade format. It'd be awesome. Comixology has been, or not just Comixology, sorry, Humble Bundle has been having these amazing deals. Like, I got a big Valiant deal. They got a Jonathan Hickman deal right now, which, by the way, you guys are sitting here talking about Jonathan Hickman. I'm pretty confident, actually, that Comics or Humble Bundle still got the Jonathan Hickman deal going on, where you can get, for as little as $1, you can get a handful of trade paperbacks. But if you pay for the full, if you pay, there's 3 tiers of minimum bid or whatever buying, and it's $1, $8, or $15. If you get the full 3-tier $15 bundle, there's like 34 trades total for $15, and it includes the entire East of West series, which I just picked up on Comixology for $16.99, and I was like, that's a super steal. And now, lo and behold, less than a month later, Humble Bundle comes along. It's like, here, you can get for $15, and you can get every other Hickman independent book that he's ever done. And I'm like, oh god, I want to pick this up, but so if you guys are into that, I know that's kind of off topic for a second, but I was gonna say, if Humble Bundle ever does a Ed Brubaker, like with all the that'd be amazing. It's like, here's all the for $15. That, I know it'll happen as soon as I actually go and buy them all, and then the Humble Bundle will come out. That's how it usually works. Let's see. Skip says, photorealistic art can be hit or miss. You can be Diodato or you can be Greg Land. Thin line. Yeah. I don't necessarily have a problem with photorealistic art. It's more of the sequential art, what I talked about in the last episode about how comics aren't about just drawing good illustrations. It's about telling a visual story. And a comic artist needs to not just be an illustrator, but he needs to think like a cinematographer. And he needs to think about how angles and perspective help sell the story. And furthermore, not in necessarily this type of comic, but in normal mainstream superhero comics, you have to understand dynamicism, and understanding how to capture the apex of an action point, which I can explain better in I'll try to remember that next time we're doing an actual, like a Marvel book. But anyways, yeah, I do like the visuals, and I didn't get to check out this panel right here. Look at the panels; they're shaped like a cross, so that's a pretty kind of cool symbolism. Things you miss when you read in that little zoomed in mode. I think there's a feature actually in Comixology that you can, yeah, here we go. I'm going to do this from the future. I forgot about this. So you can have it show you the full page and then zoom in. So like, for instance, here, you go to the next page and it's like, boom, here's the full page. Then zoom into then you go through each panel. Then you get to the next page, it's the full page, then the panels. I remember that setting. Thanks, Ash, for reminding yourself. All right. Yep. Humble Bundle also has charity. And the whole point of Humble Bundle, by the way, is that you're supposed to pay more than the minimum bid. Like, it's like $15 to get it, but they're hoping that you're going to like give more. Obviously, that's completely up to you and what you want to do, what you're able to do. But let's see. Skip says, "Yep, I always do the full page at the end." Good catch, Ash. Yeah, I might try. I might experiment between the two. I think the full page. Yeah, they both have their advantages. I can see the full page on the beginning will let me kind of understand what I'm about to read and who, a little better, but it also kind of gives things away. Whereas at the end, you just don't spoil anything, and then at the end you can see how the whole thing. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. So that's it. Gideon Falls, issue 5 in July. Wait a second, that doesn't make sense. Oh yeah, because it already came out. This looks terrible. I know it's Jeff Lemire book, Royal City, but if you saw this on the comic stands and you didn't know shit, you didn't know who Jeff Lemire was, you didn't know anything, you'd just be like, yeah, I want to buy this book. This looks like an amazing comic. What? What the hell is this? Oh my god. Mark Millar's. I love Mark Millar. Magic Order. I didn't get a chance to read this though. I'll have to go back and read those. There, that's what I'm trying to get to. All right, guys. Well, I think we're coming to a close of Bedtime with Ash. Here is other books, by the way, for future. Basically, books I'm considering in the future having as my my opening act books. I'm trying to just find some stuff to read before. Not those. Those are books I'm actually reading. So X-Men will be included. This is will be next week's X-Men down here. But I was thinking about Twin Fists of Justice. I don't know anything about it, but it just sounds amazing. We've got a Bendis Daredevil issue. Invincible #1. This is something I've been really keen on. There's a Frank Miller book that I've never read. There's a Frank Miller book I've never read. I have it right here. And it's got Simon Bisley art. Bad boy. So I was thinking about doing that. And then there's Saga. Everyone talks about Saga. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll give that a shot. Cyberforce, got some Marks of Vestry. So anyways, these aren't necessarily for sure, but I just happen to have these books in Comixology. I'm looking for feedback, of course, what you guys want to see me do. Also, after I do Gideon Falls, like a good choice what to do, I'm still thinking. This is all kind of experimental for me, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it better and make it a good show. I think it's got some positives. I think this is the best way for me to do a solo show, because what am I going to do? Like, when I have like a collaborator, you can have a conversation, but it's hard to have a conversation with yourself. So this is kind of what I do on my videos, right? Is I pop down a comic and I just talk about it. So this allows me to read a comic and then talk about it. Ronnie says, good show. Dominic, good. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Ronnie says, I still like the X-Men openers since I'm learning about them. Yeah, well, you're going to get another one next week. And then, I don't know. I don't think I have any X-Men. I got to tell you, one thing I hate about this is, I don't know if like Comixology's search feature, filter by X-Men. So, yeah, look. So the X-Men that you saw that I've read, it doesn't show them. They're not here. X-Men. It just has grand design. Where's the ones that Comixology search feature is lame. Do I have to put Uncanny? Oh, they look down. It's so stupid. It can't find. I don't think I need to tell you guys how dumb this is. So yeah, Comixology's library is a pain. So these are the only Uncanny X-Men I have on Comixology to read, unfortunately. Dominic Powell says I have volume 1 of Paper Girls. I don't know anything about that, but I know everyone says they like it. So like okay. That was one of the things that Lost in Comics was giving away, was Paper Girls #1, which actually I was going to take if that was one of the options amongst other things. One of their other options was the first 12 issues of Ta-Nehisi Coates' Captain America, and I was like, not even for free. Not even for free. Give me one issue of Paper Girls over that. Yeah, they had a really cool thing. So I guess we're kind of winding down to the end here. Hopefully this is entertaining. I wish I could just keep going all night, because this is, I'm bored out of my wits being in quarantine. Hopefully you guys are finding things to do. And if I didn't have a roommate, I could do this more often, but there's other noises going on in the house and different things. So that's usually why I do stuff in the evening. So I might try to do a stream tomorrow night, and then we'll see how that goes from there. Dominic says, have you ever thought of covering Immortal Men? No, not until now. I definitely loved Immortal Men. I don't know how much interest it would be to do that. I think there's six or seven issues of Immortal Men. I don't know. It's part of it, not that I get tons of traffic, but I do want to do something that people aren't going to just tune out for, like I want it to be interesting. So I don't even know how long Gideon Falls is going to go for. I'm assuming there might be a stopping point, or just do Gideon Falls forever. I don't know. I've actually thought about doing Ascender as well, because I love that book. That's like my favorite comic right now, and people, I don't know if I'm selling people on it. Like, people are like, oh, okay, that's nice that you like that, Ash, but I don't see people going out. There's one guy over on that's part of Wes's Discord channel over at Thinking Critical, and I forget his name off the top of my head. Was it Edmundo? There was one guy who's like, man, I got into Descender and you were right, Ash. This is amazing. He's like, I'm gonna stick to whatever you recommend from now on. And I was like, oh, well, okay. Be careful. I don't necessarily recommend always the best stuff, but I liked that someone else got the joy out of it that I did. But yeah, I loved Immortal Men, and I was really sad when DC canceled it. Sad and mad, because it was a good book. And I'm halfway through Descender. So I'm actually, I got both of the hardcover omnibuses of Descender that contain the whole series. And my buddy has them. He's reading them. And so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap that up and don't make the stream any much longer than it has to be. I want to, again, shout out to Skip and Tosh for being a great sport and ex-pal, and coming over from his stream and everything, and also for inspiring this whole thing that I'm doing. He says that I've only read issues 1 and 2 of Ascender. Hopefully you'll read more. For those of you listening, by the way, you do not have to read Descender to read Ascender. You absolutely don't. It's like, think of the Lucas Star Wars films. Think of Descender as the prequels and Ascender as the original trilogy. You can watch the prequels by themselves. You can watch the original trilogy by themselves. They add to each other, but they're not required. Like, you can completely consume them separately without being like, what the hell is this? And in some ways, I think reading Ascender without Descender, God, I hate saying those words together. It kind of is better because you don't know things. You don't, like in the very first issue, you're introduced to a character that if you've read Descender, you know immediately who that character is. But if you haven't read Descender, you're just like, oh, what's this person? And then you get to find out. So that's pretty neat. But I'm going to sit here and blab too long, as I normally do, and then it makes the replay version harder to consume for people. So I'm going to take off. Skip. Jeez, that's my dog snoring. I don't know if you guys can hear it on the mic, but I can hear it on my headphones. Jeez, dog. It's funny. I'm like laughing and distracted. Skip, let me know next time you're going to stream or something. See if we can collaborate, coordinate. Everyone have sweet dreams, and hopefully they're not about the Black Barn, but if they are...